the latest American thriller and horror blockbuster Thanksgiving is officially upon us. Just how crazy can America's $0 shopping events be? Countless people swarm towards the malls. The massive crowd directly breaks through the mall's glass doors, knocking down the security guards trying to maintain order and trampling them underfoot. Some are cut by glass shards on their necks. The scene instantly turns into chaos. Some fall, some scream, some have their arms crushed underfoot, some are knocked to the ground by shopping carts, even having their hair pulled out. All of this sends the police into a frenzy. However, the families who lost loved ones in the $0 shopping blame everything on the owner of the mall. But some believe that the real culprits behind the mall's chaos are these crazed $0 shoppers. The first to be targeted is Lizzy, who had pushed a shopping cart and killed someone. Lizzy is a waitress at a restaurant. Just as she finishes cleaning up and is about to leave, she notices a strange mask left on the bar. But as she steps forward to pick up the mask, she doesn't see a figure appearing behind her in the glass. Soon after, Lizzy throws the mask into the trash. However, just as Lizzy is about to get dressed and leave, suddenly a masked killer appears and chops at her with a knife, then drags her over and presses her into the sink. Then he opens the cold storage door and presses Lizzy against the cold door of the cold storage, instantly freezing her face together with the door. Just as the masked man is about to deliver a fatal blow to Lizzy, unexpectedly, she endures the pain, separates herself from the cold storage door, and quickly escapes through the back door. But what Lizzy doesn't expect is that the masked killer has been waiting here for a long time. In the next second, Lizzy is hit by a car and split in two. The next day, the police find Lizzy's lower body hanging on the sign of that supermarket, while her upper body has disappeared. On the other side, seeing such terrifying news, the mall security guard Manny immediately feels that something terrible is about to happen and prepares to flee overnight, because on the night of the $0 shopping, he, as a security guard, was scared away by the massive crowd. So if there is a murderer wanting to seek revenge for a loved one, then he is definitely also a prime target. Then, as Manny is packing his clothes and preparing to flee, he suddenly notices a terrifying mask on his couch. Manny knows someone must have entered his room, so he picks up a baseball bat in preparation for self-defense. Just as Manny thinks the masked killer is in the kitchen, to his surprise, the killer is actually hiding under the table next to him. Manny is successfully ambushed by the killer and is instantly beheaded. And this was just the beginning of the masked killer's revenge, as his next target was the family of the mall owner. Amy said she had an amazing show for her boyfriend to watch. She had him sit on the stage while she went to perform on the trampoline. While Amy was performing, her boyfriend's neck was suddenly twisted 180 degrees by someone. Unaware, Amy continued her heartfelt performance, not knowing her boyfriend was already dead. But the next moment, a long sword extended from beneath Amy's trampoline, gruesomely impaling her on it. Such a horrific incident at the school naturally led to class suspension once the police arrived. But there was still a couple planning to play around in the deserted school. They never expected to be abducted by the terrifying masked killer. Just as they stepped out of the corridor, Jessica seemed to hear something and came to check, only to find her classmate's phone in a shopping cart. However, as Jessica picked up the phone from the cart, she saw the killer's reflection on the turned-off screen, which allowed her to narrowly avoid disaster. After pushing the killer away, Jessica quickly ran inside. She hid in the school's dressing room, which was filled with numerous mannequins, and Jessica concealed herself among the many mannequins. But the masked killer was getting closer to where Jessica was hiding. She tried to reach for scissors not far away for defense, but accidentally knocked over a hairspray can. Clever Jessica used hairspray as a weapon for a sudden attack on the killer, creating an opportunity to escape. And ultimately she managed to survive and get out. But when the police asked her for details about the assailant, Jessica couldn't see clearly because she ran too hastily in fear. Jessica's best friend Yulia is also taken away by her father and told to leave this place tonight. Back home, Yulia began packing, unaware that the police downstairs meant to protect them had been killed. Her father, noticing something amiss, was also eliminated by the killer. Upstairs, as Yulia was cleaning her ears, the masked man suddenly appeared and pierced her ears with a fork. The masked man even greeted them during a video call with Jessica. The injured Yulia tried to escape but was forcefully dragged back by the masked man. When Jessica and Scuba rushed to the scene, they tried to save Yulia from the masked man. They didn't expect the masked man to push Yulia directly onto an activated chainsaw in front of her, and what Scuba and the others received was an incomplete Yulia. The next day, the Thanksgiving parade proceeded as scheduled, and Jessica's family, being the wealthy owners of the town's supermarket, naturally became the main force in the parade. But the next second, a clown suddenly appeared, chopping off a chicken's head and causing the crowd to scream in horror. The parade on the street also descended into chaos. Just as Jessica's family was about to escape in their car, they were knocked unconscious by the clown, who rushed over with a gun for each of them. The scene shifts to a man boiling water to prepare honey sauce. He then evenly spreads the honey sauce on Kathleen, starting from her toes and then moving up to her thighs and head. Kathleen turns to see the man preheating an oven, and the thought of her impending fate fills her with dread. When the masked man turns around, he finds Kathleen has vanished, so he picks up a fork and starts searching for her everywhere. Little does he know, Kathleen is hiding right behind the door panel of the room. Next, Kathleen agilely moves to an upstairs room but unexpectedly finds a woman's corpse in an old refrigerator. Shockingly, the body isn't completely dead yet, but Kathleen, in dire straits herself, can only close the fridge again for the time being. When Kathleen finds another place to hide, the masked man notices her footprints leading under a table in the room. Kathleen waits behind the wall, planning to ambush the masked man as he approaches. However, the masked man suddenly walks away, just when Kathleen breathes a sigh of relief. A fork pierces through the wall. Kathleen screams and flees the house, but would the masked man let her escape so easily? He throws a fork that strikes Kathleen, then drags her back and locks her in the already preheated oven. Despite Kathleen's struggles, it's in vain. She gradually emits a delicious meaty aroma under the high heat.
No. Help me! Please don't kill me!
And this day is Thanksgiving, a day for everyone to pray, give thanks, and share delicious food. But when Jessica's captured family sees Kathleen as the main dish on the table, they are instantly struck with shock, fear, and grief. Jessica's father collapses on the spot. The masked killer kindly invites them to dinner, enthusiastically preparing human blood wine for them to taste. But how could they possibly eat? Yet, if they don't eat, they won't live to see another day. Just as the killer is about to cut a piece of delicious roast meat for them, Jessica has already cut the ropes on her hands with her ring and passes the ring to Scuba beside her. Then, as soon as Scuba is also untied, they explode into action and push the killer away. Scuba then leads Jessica to escape, but under the killer's frenzied pursuit, Scuba tells Jessica to run ahead while he stays behind to cover her. After the killer injures Scuba, he immediately follows in hot pursuit. In the nick of time, Jessica climbs over the fence and escapes the clutches of the masked killer. As Jessica runs towards the town seeking help, she sees the town sheriff, Newland, lying in the middle of the road, his face covered in blood. At that moment, Jessica saw the murderer hiding in a factory building, so she pulled Newland's pistol and chased after him. But what Jessica didn't expect was that the man in black she saw inside the factory was her best friend Bobby. Just then, Newland suddenly appears from behind Jessica, taking away her gun. Jessica tells Newland that Bobby is the killer. After a gunfight, Newland claims Bobby has escaped. When other police arrive, Jessica is mostly safe, and her father and several captured friends are rescued. Newland stays by Jessica's side, comforting her, saying no other girl in town is as brave as she is. After Newland leaves, Jessica, sitting alone, pulls a thorn fragment from her pants. Then, as Newland walks back into the room, Jessica notices thorn fragments on Newland's pant leg, bewildering her. These are the kind of thorns found in the woods. So how does Newland, who hasn't been in the woods, have them? This leads Jessica to a horrifying suspicion. Her unusual behavior catches Newland's attention, and she quickly says she feels unwell. Newland offers to call a doctor. However, just as Newland is about to step out of the doorway, he suddenly stops in his tracks and says,
"On the fence a second longer."
Then, Newland closes the room's main door and confronts Jessica. When Jessica asks about Bobby, Newland says he's already injected Bobby, dressed him up, and is ready for execution. As Jessica nervously asks why Newland is doing this, Newland reveals the truth. The woman who was hit and scalped in the supermarket was his pregnant wife, a double tragedy. All this is the doing of your family's supermarket and those damn $0 shoppers. so this is just a small punishment for them, as he menacingly says he'll send Jessica to her mother. However, just after Newland finished speaking, Jessica took out her mobile phone, which was broadcasting live. Now the whole country knows Newland is the masked killer. Enraged, Newland moves to attack Jessica, but Bobby arrives just in time to save her. Still trapped in the abandoned factory, they see Newland approaching and quickly flee. Before escaping, Bobby turns on an inflatable duck device, and they both get into a pickup truck to flee. Unexpectedly, they are blocked by a small cart. As Newland, wielding an axe, approaches Jessica, she defends herself with a stick. Just then, Bobby drives the truck, breaking through the cart's blockade, but they find a steel cable tied to the back. Newland has attached the cable to a pole, preventing their escape. As Newland closes in with his axe, Jessica finds an old hunting shotgun on the truck. After loading it, she aims at the hydrogen-filled inflatable duck behind Newland. With a gunshot, the hydrogen explodes, obliterating Newland. This marks the end of the film.